Welcome everyone to the OBIC's Open Banking Insight Series. I'm your host, Michelle Beyo, CEO and founder of Finavator, as well as an OBIC board member. I'm excited to be here today as we have put together a 7-part series to highlight the benefits of open banking, both in Canada and the UK. I would like to start off by introducing our distinguished moderator as well as panelists. We have Senator Colin Deacon, who will be joining us for the 7-part series. He's an independent representative from Nova Scotia. Senator Deacon has a unique background as he was an entrepreneur, and his background brings insights, his strong advocacy of driving Canada's economy forward and pushing for consumer data rights. Really happy to have you, Colin.
Glad to be here.
We also have Elena, who is the VP of Engineering at KOHO. She's an influential payments leader, and she has great experience of scaling technology at organizations. She's actually brought many years of experience from IBM, TD, and recently tech called NanoPay. Happy to have you here today, Elena.
I'm delighted to be here today.
We also have Angelina Lu. She is the strategist and operations manager at Revolut, Canada. She's also has a master's in science and engineering from Northwestern University. Prior to working at Revolut, Angeline also led teams at McKinsey. Really happy to have you here today.
Thanks, really glad to be here and talk about open banking.
Well, I would love to start off by having Colin Deacon share a little bit on the market in Canada today.
Thanks, Michelle. And I got to tell you, I'm really pleased to be invited and to be on this series with you, and especially when you're pulling together such remarkably talented Canadians who are building businesses that are going to take us forward. Open banking to me is all about creating opportunities where they aren't yet existing. And it serves marginalized communities in ways that they don't have services today. It provides new ways of financing, new ways of payment, new ways of addressing fraud issues or money laundering issues in creative ways. And it's when businesses get from that point that they're starting to really be able to scale their growth, which is what we're talking about today. That's going to be so important as we move forward in our economy post-COVID. We are going to have to make sure that companies that add the most value to our economy are supported most firmly, because we need the growth, we need the productivity growth, we need the global competitiveness to make sure that we can afford to maintain our prosperity post-COVID, because there's going to be some tough times in front of us. And it's going to be challenging. So the sort of work that is being done by organizations like KOHO and Revolut is really, I'm really glad to be able to dive into. And I look at it and say that there's new ways that small business can be financed by these growth companies, these growth fintechs that are at the growth phase. But the challenge that they have more than anything is regulatory certainty. If we cannot provide regulatory certainty, then what happens is their ability to raise money and to grow faster is limited. And this is why the topic we're talking about today is so important. So thanks very much for including me. But I'd love to have us start off, if I could, with Alan, if you could just start with a bit of an overview of KOHO, the value you deliver to customers, where things are at in the Canadian market. Just give us a bit of an overview, if you could.
Sure. So KOHO is a Canadian neobank. So we are a fintech which offers Canadians financial services. We're doing it by actually partnering with a lot of banks, processors, Visa and other payments type of partners to enable us to deliver those innovative services. And hopefully I can talk about it a bit later as well, what we're actually doing and building.
What are the biggest challenges that you've been facing as an organization growing in Canada and serving, as you say, you're a neobank serving marginalized communities and others and areas where there aren't services being offered? What are the biggest challenges you've been facing?
I think, as you pointed out, it's a regulatory certainty. I guess its ability to for Canadians to give access and share their data safely. I think when we're talking about open banking, there is a lot. I think it's worth spending a bit of time on definitions as well, because when we speak about it, sometimes I feel like people feel it's about anyone can access my data now. So what does it mean? Right? But in fact, that is not. I think open banking emphasizes the core right that consumers and businesses have to access and safely share their data. Right. And I think the key is here that I have a right to my data and I can safely choose to share it with the parties that provide services that are tailored to me. I think when we look at other jurisdictions, it could be even starting as simple as comparing different financial services, or picking a service which offers less fees, or providing some type of budgeting service which helps me to manage my budget, which is very important now in this ecosystem. Yep. Right. So I think it's important to start there. And when we understand that, then you start thinking about it. So what does it enable? So in Canada specifically, or around the world. So first of all, it enables consumers to share and to keep their data safe. Right. I think that's a primary reason for open banking, is to ensure that your data is safe where it moves, right, or where it resides currently. It also provides a choice in improved financial products and services for consumers or businesses, right? And as you pointed out, businesses are really struggling today, and the recovery will be very, very important. And finally,
how about in new geographies? Are you serving communities that are not currently being served?
Definitely. So KOHO being digital only, we don't have any branches. So for us, we've started onboarding customers a long time ago, completely digital. So we need to ensure that our KYC processes are correct, that we need to ensure that we comply with regulations, but we've built really smooth digital onboarding. And we've seen it's really shining for this struggle that people experience as pandemic hit. And when Canadian government started offering the emergency payments, we were able to stand up very quickly, like in less than a week, offering access to serve payments to Canadians. So Canadians could go quickly, open an account, fully digital. You don't need to go to branch, and be safe and get the money and spend on groceries, on rent, on all the necessities that people need. So
fantastic. That's great insight into what can be done differently than traditional banking. Angelina, could you speak a little bit about Revolut and as a challenger bank, what it has been delivering in terms of value to customers, and then we'll maybe talk a little bit about the differences between the regulatory environment in the UK and Canada.
Yes, definitely. So Revolut is a challenger bank. We were initially founded in UK back in 2015. And then fast forward today, we are serving 12 million users across the world. So it's very powerful to know that users love us and love our product solutions. So as for Revolut, we're very similar to KOHO in the sense that we're also digital only. We only have, the digital wallet. Users are able to access their finances all from their mobile phone. I think the little bit of a difference is there is our focus is a bit more on the international spend and foreign currency exchange pieces. So 3 of our core value propositions include, we offer this multi-currency wallets that allow user to hold and exchange and spend at the interbank rates without, the traditional FX markups. User can also send request money via peer-to-peer internationally, instantly, or via our international transfer services right now. The other piece is we also issue the physical and virtual card, and then the user can take it for domestic or foreign spend without a lot of the FX markups. So we all know that Canadians love to travel, so this is a very powerful offering as well. The other very cool thing that we're doing with those cards is, traditionally you can only log and lock the cards, but Revolut also allows you to set up the more specific access when it comes to budgeting or whether you have ATM accesses or online purchases and all that. So I think overall, right, I think the Revolut value propositions, I think really fits kind of the Canadian users kind of key pain points here as well. And then when it comes to the regulatory pieces, as we all know, open banking is enabled in Europe, in the UK, and then we are actually capitalizing that and developing solutions that are solving, specific user problems, such as, we're able to offer more customized products. We're actually able to, offer user a more secure accesses where they can, choose to share their data, their financial data with Revolut or not, right? And then we can offer insights and analytics to them. So all of these have been very powerful. And I think the difference here in Canada is exactly what you said, the regulatory certainty. We all know, and we have seen that, open banking brings a lot of benefits to the end users, but we're not sure what is that regulatory certainty when it comes to Canada. How can we then apply the different learnings, the best practices from our UK, from the UK entity or parts to here in Canada, and really be able to customize our product offerings for our Canadian users with kind of that open banking certainty in mind.
That's incredible to consider that in 5 years you've gone from 0 to 12 million users globally. It gives a sense of the demand for these types of services and how quickly, if they're offered in a secure and an appropriate manner, how quickly consumers move to them because of the value, the differentiated value. That's really great to understand. Let's speak a little bit, if we could, about the differentiated value. Could you give us, Elena, 1 or 2 examples? One's great of a service or 2 services that are offered by KOHO and how that compares to the status quo.
Sure. So I think what we try is to help people and consumers to find financial stability. So we're trying to democratize the finance. We're trying to make it transparent so people don't think you worry about the fees and, especially hidden fees. So at the essence, when we're building our products, we want to be really transparent and, like either it's no fees, or if there is a fee, then why is it charged and how is it charged? So it provides customers a lot of clarity. In essence, KOHO is basically check-in or spend account. So customers open a digital account that has all the features of, like normal checking accounts that we have. You can load funds using traditional methods like e-transfers or doing direct deposits, or you can withdraw funds and, again, using similar type of methods like pre-authorized debits and e-transfers. But I think there are a couple of features which we're building, which are, I would say, different from what you normally see in traditional banks. So in addition to just having checking accounts, what we build around it, the budgeting tools. So like as you have in this account, you can have automatic, first of all, instant cash back. So as you spend, you don't wait, like a month before you see points going to your account or dollars going to your account. Right away, this amount gets charged back to your account. We also have a cool feature which allows us savings like a roundup. So we round it up to the dollar, right? So it automatically starts saving for you for your goals without you doing much, specific efforts to transfer to another savings account or, having a spreadsheet, which I used to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, you were more organized than I ever have been, I can tell you.
Well, my husband delegates to me, so I had to really pick out the one. But one thing which we're also doing, we're actually having checking and saving accounts now together. So we are launching a product which enables consumers to save off their checking account 1.2% right now to, just so you don't need to transfer. So like, as you know, usually to have higher interest, you have to transfer your funds to high interest, and then it inhibits how much can you spend. So it makes it much easier to save and spend at the same time. And I think in the time of pandemic, it's really, really important. We're also looking at, one more feature, like I'm really excited about it. So it's like early payroll. So we're offering now customers ability to get their money earlier. by several days or by a week. So it's really, really exciting because I think it is needed and consumers love it.
Well, and that's that would be a nice change from the payday loan type environment,
Yes.
which isn't as customer centric,
Yeah,
one would
agree.
say, as might be offered as a competitive alternative. So that's wonderful to hear about, Elena. Angelina, could you speak about one or two? I mean, the having the ability to use multiple foreign currencies at one time, and the savings around foreign exchange would be, I have to believe, and then global transfers. Can you give me a sense of how that can change the economics for a single customer? Like, there's got to be tremendous value in that, and I'd love to understand what that really works out to be.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it really, comes down to convenience and transparency. So transparency in the sense that, traditionally when you think about foreign currency exchanges, you're never really sure how much, you're being charged for having to exchange, let's say, your Canadian dollars into USDs or into euros. However, with Revolut, what we're really being able to offer is that, users are able to transfer or exchange those currencies at the interbank rate. That is essentially the best rate you can get. We don't really have additional charges, right? So for a lot of Canadian users, a lot of users across the world, they can really save significantly on these. And then the second piece is when it comes to send and receive money globally via our peer-to-peer service. So I think this is one of kind of a personal example. So my fiance's family are actually from Malta. So whenever, they have, grandparents' birthday, before they always had to go to the bank, get money exchanged, write a check, mail the check. Sometimes the check doesn't even arrive. Sometimes it arrives later, after, a week after. But now, Revolut is both present, we are live in Malta and we're doing external testing now in Canada. So I got the family access. So right now it's just literally a click of a button and then they can receive the 100 euros as a birthday gift card. And how amazing is really that by streamlining that process, it not only saved them a lot of money, that convenience it's amazing, but also really get the family closer together. So, I mean, border in this case is not an issue anymore, right? It's almost like we're living in a global village in that sense.
That's absolutely fantastic. And it's a great example, a very human example. Works for small businesses as well. You have small business accounts. So that would be very important. I can tell you, as somebody who started businesses across borders, every time I started the business, our customers were outside of Canada. So very valuable.
Definitely. So we also have business. We also serve business users in Europe, and we're also looking to offering very similar services as well for Canadians. And I think in kind of your example, right, one of the very powerful product that we're thinking about is this borderless account, in the sense that if you're a business and you are doing cross-border businesses with business in other countries, right? Then we want to be able to offer you that local currency account details. So as an example, if you are conducting business with a company in the US and you want to receive the funds, we want to be able to provide you with that USD account detail. So then it's so seamless, you can just receive your money from kind of your partner right away. And that's also create a lot of convenience and also cost saving for our users here.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, Elena, or Angelina. Elena, could you just speak a little bit about opportunities to be working with financial institutions and the sort of partnerships between fintechs and financial institutions as we move forward in our economy, and especially the current challenges we've been facing with COVID? What do you see transpiring?
Thank you. It's a great question. And I wanted to emphasize open banking is not about fintechs versus banks, right? This is not what it's about.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes, it is about building an ecosystem which has specific goal. And to me, it's basically two major goals which we're trying all to achieve. First, we want to continue building strong and competitive Canadian financial ecosystem, right? And so that enables fast recovery for things like pandemics or some kind of economic crisis that we experienced in 2008. And I think most importantly, it helps Canadians to have a choice and have better services. So ultimately, I think open banking is just to benefit the Canadian ecosystem as a whole. As KOHO, I mean, we wouldn't be able to build what we've built if we hadn't partnered with financial institutions, banks, and other fintechs to achieve what we want to achieve and offer services. So we are partnering, as you know, with Visa for our payment network, where we're partnered with institutions that provide depository insurance and provide regulatory oversight, so that the money is safe. And I think it's thanks to those partners we're able to create great services, and partners benefit from it too, because it helps their bottom line and helps to grow their services and create something creative.
That's fantastic. Angelina, do you have some perspectives in terms of how fintechs and traditional financial institutions can work together on the other side of the pandemic, and once open banking is in place, some experience from the UK?
Yes, definitely. I do believe the collaboration between fintechs and FIs are one of the determining factors of whether open banking can be successful, right, in different countries. Reason being that I almost think of it as a codependency between the fintech and financial institution, where we help each other grow, really. So fintech, we're known for being very agile, digital first. However, we are newer in the industry, so we look for the financial institutions to offer that stability, that resilience, that knowledge. And then FIs, traditionally, they're a bit slower. They rely a bit more on the physical contact when they interact with their users. But in that sense, they are also looking for us when it comes to innovations, right? When it comes to what are kind of the next newest technology to come. So I think in this use case, especially in the context of open banking, this is a perfect example of how fintechs and financial services are working together, really, where in the UK, the financial institutions are providing the standard API solutions, and then the fintechs are working on connecting to each one of the the financial institutions, and then offer user those kind of the insights, the analytics, right? So by the end of the day, I think we both really benefits a lot on both parties. And in addition, obviously the end user are always kind of the great beneficiary of all these efforts, and we really want to bring that also to Canada as well, where Canadians can also benefit from open banking.
Well, that's the purpose of a financial system, is to benefit those that it serves. So those are, that's why we have it. Exactly. So it's great to see the enthusiasm that you have of building ecosystems, and that's where I love the idea of Canadian banks being able to export the trust that the globe has. We've got one of the most stable banking systems in the world, and great reputations of our banks, and be able to export that more aggressively globally, I think is a great opportunity. Michelle, do you have any other questions that you're going to want to have looked at before we start to wrap this up?
Yeah, definitely. My other question is, when we look at open banking, we're in the midst of consultation, is just about to start at the end of November. Very exciting for the movement that is starting to happen in Canada with the new finance minister, and also having the new data rights that have just come out last week. And I think the big question right now is, how are we going to do open banking? So what are your thoughts on read-write access as we look to open banking in Canada? And Angelina, if I could start with you.
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to this, right? So sorry, your question is specific about the read-write access?
Yeah, so right now, I think currently they're speaking a lot of this read-only access to open banking, which might cause no innovation, actually. It might just cause open banking, but with a lack of ability to help grow an ecosystem. So just from a UK perspective, and then as you put your Canadian hat on, what are your thoughts in regards to how we look at that to make sure Canada is competitive on a global scale as we get to global banking instead of local banking in the future?
Yeah, definitely. That's I think that's a very, very good question. I think when we come to kind of tackle questions like this, we really need to make sure to understand, who are the users who, will need to benefit from this, right? I think one is definitely the fintechs, right, who need to connect to all these different solutions in order to get access to the data. So then we can then develop the products associated or from open banking. The other set is, from the end user perspective, if the data that if in the end the fintechs are not able to get the data, the right access to the data and develop the product, then the end user obviously will not adopt open banking. And therefore, right, like how do we measure that success? What would we say really open banking is successful? So I think we really have to keep those two really in mind. And I think what the UK did, I think, really well is in the sense that they did a lot of consultation. They also are working have the fintechs and the FIs are working together, where there are strict regulation in terms of what kind of solutions or API solutions that the FIs should be developed in order for the fintechs to access all the data and to be able to really utilize all the data that they're able to get from the FIs, from the open banking perspective. Although I do understand kind of the concern about giving the read-only access. I'm assuming it's more from kind of the privacy or data security perspective, which are also kind of a major I guess question or concern that we have to take into consideration, because we still have to understand what are the specific standards, concerns, or security measures or data ownership that we need to define, right, in order to make sure that open banking is secure as we say, and then we really can address kind of the user's concern about whether they feel comfortable about sharing all their privacy and data, right, with the third party. So I think those are really some of the questions that we really need to answer, like when we take open banking here in Canada.
Thank you. Elena?
Yeah, maybe I'll jump. And so we see Canada is a late mover in this space, as we can hear from Angela and see what's happening around the world. But on the other hand, we also have a benefit of fast follower, right? So we can learn what's been done and what works and what potentially has its limitations. I think open banking does have a limited scope. And I do want to ensure that, given that we're starting a bit later and we're learnings, that we are talking about open finance, because ultimately the benefit for us, because open banking only restricts to like checking kind of accounts and transactions. If we want to ensure that customers have a benefit of overall for their financial lives, we need to talk about other types of accounts and other types of data which helps us to build better services, and that could include mortgage or investment data, etc. It all has to be done in a control, and and customer has to be in control when and whether they share it and sharing it safely. But I think if we extend the scope to open finance, we'll have much more creative use cases and much more helpful ecosystem to build for Canada. So what's next? Again, as Michelle, you pointed out, I'm really excited about the second phase of consultations. I'm really optimistic about the digital rights and new potential privacy law being proposed. I think all of those are necessary steps to enable it. I just feel that we need to move, and we need to continue moving faster. And that means that the government should allocate some funding to this initiative. We should talk about our POF retail framework and establish how it should look like. And also standards are really important in this space. What does it mean to open the APIs, and what it means to provide this data, and how to store it and share it?
I can tell you, Michelle, I'm grateful for you asking that question, because there's so much that, we have got to move carefully, but swiftly, and with increasing speed, I think, as we get confident. And so, yes, it's reasonable to start with just read only, but we've got to get to the point of initiating payments and opening up, as Elena and Angelina both said, opening up to not just banking, but finance. And I take comfort from the fact that the panel is called, it's renamed the topic consumer directed finance. So they see that in the roadmap, and I think it's up to us to help them to find a really safe path forward. So I just want to thank both of you Elena from KOHO and Angelina from Revolut for helping me to understand more today, and Michelle for inviting me to be part of this. Thank you very much. I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for all of you joining. This is our first OBIC Open Banking Insights. It's part of a 7-part series, and we're really just so glad that you guys have been able to be here today, sharing the insights of what challenger banks are bringing to the table, how you both in a growth stage are growing for Canadian services, for Canadians to be better serviced and have better options, as well as partnering with Canadian banks to have a fully flourishing Canadian ecosystem as we grow to be a Canadian leader in the future, not just today. So excited to have everybody. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope you tune in to our next 6 series.